You got into the safety business because you wanted to protect people, but somewhere along the way, the job started controlling your time, your schedule, your priorities, even your income potential. What if the expertise you've built over the years in the field can give you something more? More freedom, more control, more ownership of your future. I'm Sheldon Primus, the author of 7 Steps to Starting a Profitable Safety Consulting Business and the host of the Safety Consultant Podcast, with more than 350 episodes helping safety professionals become consultants and grow their career. Consulting changed my life. In fact, I'm a full-time RVer, and one consulting contract paid for my home I live in today. Now, I help safety professionals build their own consulting practice through bi-weekly coaching calls, accountability, and personal guidance. But this program isn't for everyone. Start with the Consultant Readiness Audit at sheldon.coach.
What if everything we thought we knew about safety was just interference? From the host of the Rated R Safety Show and the founder of Safety FM comes the complete Signal Transmission Trilogy, now available in one powerful edition. Safety, in my opinion, the book that started the conversation. Safety Mutation, where the boundaries of culture, systems, and belief begin to break. And now, Safety Transmission, the final piece of the signal. For the first time, all 3 books are together in one volume. The Signal Transmission Trilogy, Complete Edition. This isn't just about compliance. It's about consciousness. It's about decoding the way we think, lead, and live, inside and outside the system. Whether you've been following the signal since the beginning or you're just now tuning in, this is the version to own. Search Signal Trilogy on Amazon or visit safetyfm.com to get your copy now.
This show is brought to you by Safety FM.
And from the border of liberty and prosperity and the highway to the north, this is Safety Wars for Thursday, March 2nd, 2023. So I have a couple of announcements to make. This is the final program for Season 2 of Safety Wars. We're coming up on 200 programs next week. Season 3, tentatively, starts on Monday. So on Friday, tomorrow, I have a personal family event that I have to attend. So I'm going to be attending it. So we're going to have some changes, God willing, for Season 3, starting on Monday. And they're going to include, we have an election coming up here in 2024, and we're going to have some election coverage with our analysis out here. We'll try to remain as nonpartisan as possible. I'll give both major political parties and probably some third parties some coverage periodically. It's not going to become the political show. Even though Jay Allen has reminded me that he laughs when I say, well, this show's not political, because he says, Jim, you always talk politics. Well, maybe so. We're going to have a couple of very large name people in the global warming, climate change, whatever we're calling it this week, movement on starting next week. I interviewed them when I was in Florida last week at Orlando at the International Conference on Climate Change. As usual, I don't go after the people, the commentators, or I do some, but no, I try to go for the leadership of the movement. And this is the loyal opposition to the popular, use that word, popular views on climate change that are being pursued by our government and some other governments. And we're here to give you a lot to think about. And just where are we going? And we even talked a little bit about some of our safety plans on there. And because a lot of us are mandated by clients, big clients, to put a lot of stuff into safety plans that we may not agree with, that may not be good. And by some standards, and we can all have, and good is a very subjective word, as we know. It means it's like hurt. What does hurt really mean? You can be hurt in a lot of ways. An organization, you can be hurt in a lot of ways. I wanted to thank the New American for posting an interview of me last week in Orlando. Alex Kurtzman, I believe that's his name, interviewed me on the train crash in Ohio, East Palestine, Ohio. And he was shocked. He said, I'm shocked that I found someone like you at an event like this. Right? With this. So I might as well just cut to the update on that. This is as of March 1st. This is yesterday. It's Thursday, March 2nd, 2023. EPA has conducted 578 home and re-entry screenings to date and continues air monitoring at 16 stations within the community. There have been no exceedances. This is off of the EPA website. There have been no exceedances for residential air quality standards, and outdoor air quality remains normal. What does that really mean? State, local, and federal officials are holding a public meeting at blah, blah, blah tonight from 6 to 9. And EPA's Community Welcome Center at 25 North Market Street is now open to the community from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. every day. This might be worth a road trip for me. I don't know. Got to see how the schedule dictates here. I haven't been to Ohio in a long time. And that's what the update is for tonight. And I encourage everyone to go to the EPA website. Some more EPA news. EPA announces enforcement actions to control hydrofluorocarbon imports. So as we mentioned with this whole thing with East Palestine, Ohio, chlorine, right, and fluorine is in the other one. Fluorine is one of the strongest oxidizer in nature. So it was banned because of what was it? The ozone hole situation, as I recall. Today, the U.S. EPA announced several enforcement actions that support national and international goals to reduce the use of hydrofluorocarbons in our fight against climate change. So, fight against climate change. These, I'm thinking chlorofluorocarbons for ozone, right? The ozone hole. These civil penalties actions include 3 landmark settlements with HFC importers who failed to report their imported quantities in violation of the Clean Air Act, Greenhouse Gas Reporting Program. One company received $247,000 in fines. Another one, $275,000, and a third one, $382,000. EPA is aggressively pursuing similar actions against several other importers that failed to report their HFCs. And HFCs are commonly used in refrigeration and air conditioning equipment. Released to the atmosphere, HFCs can have a climate impact thousands of times stronger than carbon dioxide. Enforcement of the Greenhouse Gas Reporting Program demonstrates the Biden administration's commitment to address HFCs and protect our climate. We'll talk about that next week. The United States agreed under the bipartisan AIM Act to phase down HFC production and consumption by 85% by 2036. Consistent with the international HFC phase down laid out in Kigali Amendment to the Montreal Protocol. Global efforts to phase down HFCs are expected to avoid up to 0.5 degrees Celsius of global warming by 2100. Accurate reporting of HFCs helps sound policy, and going forward under the HFC phase down will allow the United States to verify we are meeting limits under the AIM Act. EPA announces listening sessions on potential CERCLA enforcement discretion policy for addressing PFAS, polyfluor. I'll get what that is. PFAS contamination at Superfund sites. The U.S. EPA Office of Enforcement and Compliance Assurance announces 2 public listening sessions to receive individual input related to concerns about potential liability under the Comprehensive Environmental Response Compensation Liability Act, right? CERCLA, commonly known as Superfund, or as we used to say, Superfund. The input received will be reviewed and considered by EPA in drafting a CERCLA per and polyfluoroalkyl substances, that's PFAS, enforcement discretion and settlement policy to the extent that PFAS cleanup enforcement efforts occur under CERCLA. There will be opportunities to provide verbal input during the public listening sessions and written input submissions in a separate form. These listening sessions will focus on an enforcement policy related to responsible parties' financial obligations under PFAS contamination response actions. What are the dates of the sessions? Tuesday, March 14th and Thursday, March 23rd. Check the EPA website out for that. Some news from OSHA. OSHA to provide in-person online training event on workplace safety, health, and for federal agency employees. The U.S. Department of Labor's OSHA will offer a three-day training event August 8th through 10th, 2023 in Arlington Heights, Illinois, for federal workers responsible for their agency's workplace safety and health. OSHA's Office of Federal Agency Programs and its OSHA Training Institute will conduct a series of in-person and online half-day seminars on a variety of workplace safety topics. These include fall protection, accident investigation, construction focus for confined spaces, workplace violence, job hazard analysis, machine guarding, forklift and material handling, and safety data sheets. Attendance is free and open only to federal employees. To participate, register between June 5th and July 14th, and they have contact info. Now, one of my favorite websites for news here is Study Finds, because they have some really funny studies here. Some of these are funny, some of these are very mundane. As you know, we have to find out that we have to study everything here. And hold on one second. I'm going to take a break. I have to do something. Hang on. Warning. The following broadcast contains adult language, adult content. Wrong button. Is your safety training old, stale, and hackneyed? Is your safety trainer still preaching a warped version of behavior-based safety? How about safety training that actually addresses your hazards in your workplaces and is not standardized baloney from 25 years ago? Contact the Safety Wars team at safetywars.com or call Jim Posel at 845-269-5772. Remember, if you're receiving this message, you are the solution to unsafe workplaces. So anyway, I'm back. Now I get down in the basement, and where I'm broadcasting from, we had the basement converted into a studio. And now I come down here, and it's, especially in the wintertime, it's cold, right? Because cold air sinks, right? So I end up shutting the door, and then before long, it's got to be 90 in here now, right? Anyway, so I go to study funds. Some of these studies are pretty funny here, right? but they're relevant to safety when you think about it, and the environment, which is what we talk about here. We finally have an answer to one of life's greatest mysteries. What is that? The best way to cook pasta. Turns out the first step to cooking a delicious pot of pasta is preventing table salt from chemically reacting with disinfectant chemicals which may be in your tap water. Really? Because you listen to the Food Network, and one of the chefs says you got to put salt in with the pasta, right? Of course, this science experiment had a bigger goal than just creating the next Chef Boyardee. The researchers wanted to examine how table salt interacts with chloramine-treated drinking water. So this is an environmental thing because we're talking about drinking water here, right? Oh, and by the way, where I used to live in Hoboken, New Jersey, they had a water main break, and they're all on bottled water, or they're having water main issues. Well, guess what? Welcome to late 1990s, early 2000s in Hoboken, where we had to boil water all the time, but they would tell you like 2 or 3 days later, we had a problem. Let me explain. This is a little bit of an aside, but anytime that they're doing water line work in a neighborhood, right, you're on the public water system, you probably should boil the water, all right? Because it takes like 24 to 48 hours to test the water and get results. And they're not testing the water in your tap water. So just to let you know. So I would probably just run everything, right? Run the water, drink bottled water, things. That's me, though. I'm a little bit paranoid. And as I said in the New American interview, we have environmental monitoring equipment here. So most countries, including the United States, have tap water treated with chlorine or chloramine before it enters kitchen or bathroom faucets. These chemical compounds act as disinfectants to eliminate deadly germs from the water supply. However, there is a chance that small amounts of these disinfectants remain in water when people use it for cooking. Focus on chlorinated water and table salt comes together, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, let's go down and find out what it is. The team boiled elbow macaroni in tap water containing chloramine and salt. The first test involved cooking the pasta and going on. And they measured amounts of 6 iodinated trihalomethanes, potentially toxic compounds in the food and leftover pasta water. Both the cooked food and the pasta water showed signs of all 6 iodinated trihalomethanes. However, the concentrations of each toxic product differed depending on how the dish was prepared. Really? The team found 4 ways to lower your risk of having contaminated byproducts in your noodles. Okay, this is the important part. Pasta should boil without a lid. Boiling without a lid lets vaporized chlorinated and iodinated compounds leave the food and water. The second way is to strain your noodles from the water they're cooking in to remove most contaminants. Should also add iodized table salt after cooking the pasta. After cooking the pasta, right? So you can have iodized salt and non-iodized salt. They're saying iodized salt because why is that? My understanding is that they put iodine in salt because there was a huge iodine deficiency in the world prior to World War II, and this would result in thyroid issues. So they add iodine in it, right? Fortify it. Lastly, if you insist on boiling your pasta in salted water, opt for an iodine-free salt options like kosher salt and Himalayan salt to avoid harmful chemical reactions. Study is published in the Journal of Environmental Science and Technology. Wow. Now for a little bit something more mundane. A giant Jurassic-era insect, and this is from yesterday, I was reading this, found in Arkansas at a Walmart. Wow. I wonder if he was a greeter. Walmart seems to be stocked with pretty much everything, including a rare insect that dates back to prehistoric times called the giant lacewing. Researchers say the bug was discovered in Arkansas. First recorded sighting in eastern North America in over 50 years, and the first giant lacewing discovered in the state. So I remembered it vividly because I was walking into Walmart to get milk, and I saw this huge insect on the side of the building. Said Michael Skvarla, the director of Penn State's Insect Identification Lab, who was a doctoral student at the University of Arkansas at the time of the discovery. I thought it looked interesting, so I put it in my hand and did the rest of my shopping with it in between my fingers. I go home, mounted it. That's like on a microscope, not the other kind of mount, right? I got home, mounted it, and promptly forgot about it for almost a decade. While Skvarla actually found this insect in 2012, he misidentified it and only recently uncovered its true identity when the COVID pandemic hit 8 years later. Well, thank God for that. We know what this was. Skvarla was teaching an online insect biology course at Penn State when he showed students microscopic samples of his personal insect collection. While lecturing on a specimen he previously labeled an antlion, he quickly realized his features did not match those of the dragonfly-like predatory insect. The wingspan of this insect was 50 millimeters, way too large for the average antlion. And, no, they were shocked, basically. I won't go on and read the rest. Now, I'm going to do a shout out to a professor of mine in college, Jamie Cromartie, who was the president of the American Entomological Society. I think he would be tickled pink about this story. I'm going to drop a line to his widow, Alex Gitchell, because I tell you what, I think he would be tickled pink because he says he used to say a lot of discoveries happened over this, like by amateurs, by non-professionals. This was a student who found this. So it was really interesting. And here's another person who can't get away from his work. A geologist goes on vacation and finds a giant meteorite crater in a winery. This is in Frankfurt, Germany. For one German geologist, a holiday trip to France has become the scientific discovery of his career. Beneath the Domaine de Meteor winery, Professor Frank Benker says there's a previously undiscovered meteorite crater, only the fourth such crater found in Western Europe. One of the strongest pieces of evidence we have of meteor collisions are the craters they leave on the Earth's surface. While these ancient craters are still visible today, erosion and shifting of plate tectonics in the Earth's crust make them very hard to find. The Earth Impact Database lists 190 craters worldwide. Okay, we're going to have to bookmark that. You know what? Let's look that up. I know, I do this every night. These are like the first time I'm seeing these stories. So you're getting raw commentary and raw reactions from me. Let's go look up the Earth Impact Database. I got to see this website. Because there may be, imagine if there's one in my neighborhood. The Earth Impact Database from the Planetary and Space Science Center. Okay, where's the database? And it has here. Do you think you've discovered, and this is PASSC.net, it has a thing in there. Do you think you discovered an impact crater? Do you think you discovered a meteorite? Would you like to see a map of all terrestrial craters? Yeah, okay, let's see. Where's the map? Okay, so here we are. I'm clicking on the map of North America. Ooh. Any in my neighborhood? Okay, there's a lot in the Midwest. The nearest one to New York is the Chesapeake Bay. Ooh, I didn't know that. Chesapeake Bay is a meteorite, right? Ooh. And the link is dead. Where's the other one? There's one in Ohio. Serpent Mound in Ohio. There's one up in Ontario, Holliford. There's one in Nova Scotia. So I did not realize that the Chesapeake Bay is has a meteorite crater. Who knew? And then, of course, the most popular one, Yucatan in Mexico. And I went to the one out in Arizona, in the Barringer crater. Been there. That's probably the most famous one in the United States. And there's one in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Hey, maybe you guys that are out there for the safety event next week with Todd Conklin and Jay Allen and crowd, maybe you want to go and look at it. That would probably be a really interesting thing. But anyway, we learned something here. So this guy's out. Hey, he's on vacation, and all of a sudden, hey, look at this. I found it. Ain't that the way it is? YouTube is spreading misinformation about good sleep habits. Oh, really? You mean YouTube? And people are finding bad information on YouTube and TikTok and all the rest? Who would have thought? Right? Case in point, researchers from Brigham and Women's Hospital are revealing an alarming amount of medical misinformation within videos discussing sleep disorders. Even worse, popular videos from bloggers containing both misinformation and consumer bias appear to attract far more views than expert-led videos. Well, you needed a study for that? Look at what we went through with COVID. No, we're safety professionals here. And part of the reason why we have this here program is that there's a lot of bad safety information out there. Look at the whole COVID thing. No, people who have been experts in respiratory protection, biological safety are ignored, but some guy on TikTok or Instagram, right, who consults Dr. YouTube and Dr. Google, all of a sudden becomes the expert on all this stuff, right? Doctors, like I said, if you get a lot of medical information too, especially in the masks. There were a whole bunch of studies that came out this week. I haven't covered them. Was that this is all groove? No, with the masks, and they knew it, and they said it anyway. Well, my opinion is that people have respiratory protection. That's a hell of a lot better than a mask. A mask that's not NIOSH rated, no certifications from any organization, and everything else. Why do people view unreliable content? As far as why people seem to favor bloggers over actual medical professionals, researchers chalk up this trend to content creators' ability to produce media that is engaging, aesthetically appealing, and relatable. Well, yeah, I get that. I mean, I get that comment all the time. Some of the things, comments that I get on this show is, holy crap, because you can actually keep people's attention for 10 minutes. Right? With these releases you're doing. But anyway, it's something else. Family member just saw a medical doctor today, and they said, look, you're not getting enough sleep. You need 8 hours of sleep. That's just the way it is. Overclassification overkill. U.S. is drowning in a sea of secrets. This was released today on this website, but this has been an ongoing issue throughout. I have to say, I've been aware of this going back to as far as 2004, 2005, roughly, where with patents, something like 40 to 50% of all submissions to U.S. Patent and Trademark Office are declared under eminent domain or seized by the government. That's why a lot of people do not have products out there that are trade secrets. They classify them as not patents. Because of things getting seized, and there are other issues for getting things patented. Because everything becomes a public record. First time I heard of this was, I think, 2001 on patents. So this is a little bit of a divergent, a tangent. But yeah, well, if it wasn't a tangent, if we didn't have tangents, we wouldn't have Safety Wars live. All right. I had my Aunt Susan. my dear Aunt Susan, she had, my Uncle Dave, who's my father's brother, married Susan. And Susan had her grandfather, Max, I forget his last name. He was a very successful businessman, and everybody here has been impacted by him. Right? Everybody here, listening to the sound of the voice. I said, Max, and I was at a Christmas party, a holiday party, a Christmas / Hanukkah party, and with him, I said, Max, can I ask you a question? He said, certainly, Jimmy. I said, I know you're a successful businessman, and there's a lot of murmurings and everything in the background. What kind of business were you in? What was the secret to your success? If he was still alive, I'd have him on the show. And he said, well, get me a drink and I'll tell you. So I got him a drink, whatever he was drinking, and he started telling me over a glass of wine, I believe it was. And he says, well, this is what it was. Do you remember Coke bottles back in the 1920s? I said, no, I was born in 1970, but I know I'm familiar with the Coke bottles. He said, you know that they were forged, right? And it said Coca-Cola on it. I said, yeah, I know that. He said, well, in 1934, height of the Depression, my friend and I, we had a business, and we created the process for printing on a bottle, on a curved surface. I said, really? And he said, that's why Coca-Cola and all the other soda manufacturers, they stopped using forged bottles. And what they did was they created these printing thing and everything on the side where we printed on that. Said I made $1 million in 1935. I said, well, did you patent it? He said, I wouldn't patent anything. Are you kidding me? He said, I got a trade secret on it, and it was kept secret for many, many, many years. And then other people figured out how to do it. But that's where I made the bulk of my money. And then I went into and they changed the soda bottles in like the 70s. And if you remember the old quart soda bottles, they had a styrofoam label over the whole bottle. I'm sure that you can Google those somewhere. They're probably worth a fortune. He says, okay. He said, well, then I went into vending machines. And he said, I was the exclusive vending machine cover manufacturer in the United States. So you have a vending machine and it says like Coke or Pepsi or whatever. He was the guy, his company that he owned made every one of those things, every one of those vending machine covers. No, on the front that said whatever, Coke, Sprite, whatever, Dr. Pepper. And, eventually there were other companies, but for a while he was the only one who made them. He made them reliable. He said the big thing was that they broke. So he said, and he was the first one there. And the second one was I had been involved in someone trying to get a patent for a voting machine after the 2000 presidential election debacle. And there was a law that came out called the Help USA Vote Act. And for years, there were no voting machines that were compliant with the law. And it's even, some people say that the current ones aren't even compliant with the law. And it would have, the way that this was set up, it would have complied with the law, and it was we'll just say it was, you couldn't mess with the vote numbers, right? A lot of the stuff, and you could go, there's conspiracy theories out here. There are also legitimate comments on the way that we vote in the United States with that. And I did a deep dive with this. Case in point, there are two stories that came out yesterday on voting, let's see if I can find them. But anyway, let me get back to the story. Overclassification, overkill. U.S. government is drowning in its sea of secrets. The U.S. faces far more threats to its national security than from spy balloons or classified documents discovered in former and current presidents' homes. This is from Study Finds here. 50 million more threats every year. That's the estimated number of records annually classified as confidential, secret, or top secret by the U.S. government. The U.S. has an overclassification problem, which experts say ironically threatens national security. Those in the intelligence field, along with at least 8 special commissions through the decades, acknowledge the security risk of nearly 2,000 workers processing tens of millions of classified records each year, which could be viewed and potentially leaked or misplaced by more than 4.2 million government employees and contractors have access to them. I have seen the security creep, right? Meaning, no, a creep as in not a creep, right? But meaning a bad person, a weird person, but a creep, meaning a slow movement, right? More classification and more withholding of information by the government growing for decades. As a scholar who studies freedom of information as a recent president of National Freedom Information Coalition and everything. Who is this? This is doesn't say, maybe it'll say later in the article. Classified federal records are made secret based on categories defined by the president through executive orders, not law. These records can include just about anything from government employee deems confidential, secret, top secret, or sensitive, or restrictive. All right. What are the what's the takeaway here? Experts and members of Congress acknowledge that 90% of classified records do not need to be classified. The 9/11 Commission concluded that excessive classification inhibited the ability of defense agencies to share critical files, contributing to the terrorist success in killing 3,000 Americans. They said no one has to pay the long-term costs of overclassifying information through these costs, even in literal financial terms, are substantial. Overclassification leads to more leaking of dangerous information. According to some, overclassification impedes information sharing by agencies and makes people trust the system less. Some government employees may even come to believe the system is too secretive that may encourage dangerous information leaks from within the government. Thinking Edward Snowden here, right? What's the history of this? Here you go. The Constitutional Convention in 1787 was held in secret, and the Senate debated the Bill of Rights behind closed doors in 1791. Congress didn't print its approved laws for the public till 1795, nearly 2 decades after the founding of the United States and 6 years after the Constitution's ratification. And it goes on and on throughout history. This is some more like the national treasure, right? So, we're going to take a break here, and we're going to go on.
In the professional safety community, communication and planning are just a few keys to your program's success. The question many practitioners have is, where do I start? Dr. Jay Allen, the creator of the Safety FM platform and host of the Rated R Safety Show, has built a global foundation to help you along the way. Go to safetyfm.com and listen to some of the industry's best and most involved professionals, including Blaine Hoffman with the Safety Pro, Sam Goodman with the Hop Nerd, Sheldon Primus with the Safety Consultant, Jim Pozell with Safety Wars, Emily Elrod with Unapologetically Bold, and many others. As individuals, we can do great things, but as a team, we become amazing. Dial into safetyfm.com today and surround yourself with a powerful force of knowledge and support.
Is your safety training old, stale, and hackneyed? Is your safety trainer still preaching a warped version of behavior-based safety? How about safety training that actually addresses your hazards in your workplaces and is not standardized baloney from 25 years ago? Contact the Safety Wars team at safetywars.com or call Jim Posel at 845-269-5772. Remember, if you're receiving this message, you are the solution to unsafe workplaces. OSHA recordables, first aid cases, catastrophic losses. You want answers? So do I. This is Jim Posel with Safety Wars.
You are listening to Safety Wars. Tomorrow's Safety Today.
And welcome to the last program for Season 2 of Safety Wars. So we forewent, or we did not, I don't know what the word, how do you say, forgot? I don't know. We did not do any war news this week, and that was on purpose. Let's just say Guvno is getting real. Withdraw from nuclear treaties. Threats. Russia using waves of human bodies, hoping that the Ukrainians run out of ammunition before they run out of people. Right? War, as Smedley Butler said. Was it Smedley Butler? War is a racket. So I enjoy reading the Straits Times from Singapore because I tell you what, they give a very good, what's the word I'm looking for? Very good coverage from outside the United States. And especially on their worker occupational safety and health stuff. And I love the name of their occupational safety and health agency. Right? We have OSHA. They have MOM, Ministry of Manpower. So, plastic consumption, I wonder how that translates in whatever language they speak in Singapore. I'm not even sure. Plastic consumption on course nearly double by 2050. Plastic use in a group of 20 G20 countries is set to nearly double by the middle of the century unless a comprehensive and legally binding treaty to curb consumption is drawn up, research published on Monday shows. Existing programs to reduce recycling and cut single-use plastic consumption only scratch the surface, and a more comprehensive global plan is required, according to Back to Blue, a research group by the Economist, Impact Think Tank, and Nippon Foundation, a private philanthropic organization. So, the United Nations kicked off negotiations on an agreement to tackle plastic pollution in Uruguay in November, with the aim of drawing up a legally binding treaty by the end of 2024. I applaud this, all right? So I might not agree with environmental groups on global warming completely. However, there's a lot of agreement, and I am more radical than a lot of mainstream environmentalists on most environmental issues. I'm going to be right up front with you with that. One of the things that disgusts me the most is plastic pollution. I grew up in Woodbridge, New Jersey, across from the Fresh Kills landfill. So Woodbridge Township consists of several towns. Port Reading, Seawarren, and Port Reading and Seawarren are across the bay across the Arthur Kill River from the Fresh Kills landfill. Those are two parts of Woodbridge. And I remember with the boats, we were big boating people. I was a member of Raven Ship 89, the Sea Scouts in Carteret, New Jersey, on Roosevelt Avenue. There was at the end of Roosevelt Avenue in the hill section of Carteret. And it was the old ferry, Carteret Ferry terminal, right? That was part of the FMC. I'm not sure who owns it now, FMC property. And Seawarren had Boynton Beach, which back in the early 1920s, that got destroyed when the oil companies moved in, and pollution and everything. And no, every time it rained, stuff was coming off the Fresh Kills landfill and ended up on the beaches of Woodbridge. Woodbridge Township used to be the beginning of the Jersey Shore. They used to have on the Woodbridge River, they had, that was Boynton Beach, they had beautiful beaches and everything else. And on Smith's Creek over there, right? I know I'm getting hyper local here. Now they converted it into a park that was all contaminated because of Fresh Skills landfill. And our former governor, who was the mayor of Woodbridge, sued New York City because of all the garbage. I mean, when I talk garbage, it was garbage. Now, friend of this program, I'm not sure if she's a listener or not, but I have been in contact with her over the years, Alison Teal. She runs a website, and let's see. Let me make sure I got this right. Alison Teal, right? She is a filmmaker, right? Known as the female Indiana Jones. The real life Indiana Jones, the character Indiana Jones was based on a real guy, right? A real person. Well, they have this I don't know what to tell. She's a filmmaker. She has a very interesting life. She runs a website, Alison Adventures, and she's on Instagram, Alison Teal, and she has a phenomenal book, Alison's Adventures. Now, she was in Time Magazine. She was also on the Discovery Channel, Naked and Afraid, Alison Teal. And you could go and you could look that up. I'm sure a lot of people are out there Googling that right now. And she had grew up around the world. Her parents worked for National Geographic as photographers, and she grew up all over the world with people. And she now lives in Hawaii with her parents on like as off the grid as you could get in Hawaii, I guess. And her big issue is plastic pollution. She did a short movie on the Maldives. And the amount of plastic in the Maldives, you're talking plastic bottles all over the place. And other plastics and the effects of microplastics on the marine environment. Right, we talk about this stuff here. And she came out with a book, Alison's Adventures, Your Passport to the World. Phenomenal book, especially for like a young reader. My daughter loves this book. She's 8 years old, right? And, great book. Anyway, her short movie goes into this problem. Huge issue with plastic consumption here. With this. So, again, I remember in the early 1990s, early 1980s, we made the jump in our society, and we were shamed into using plastic bags at the supermarket from paper to plastic, because we were told that plastic biodegrades and you're going to save it was sold to the public that you're going to save the rainforests and all these forests because of not using paper bags. Well, it comes to later, what do we have? What do we have a problem with? We have a problem with microplastics in the environment. Very, very frustrating. See if she wants to come on the program, because I tell you what, she's very passionate about this. And I like to see that now I can talk like an old man, right? With the younger generation here. It's very... now, with people like her, I think we're going to be okay in this world. So, plastic consumption up. It's a shame. Now, here's another one. In Greece. So, Greece had a massive train disaster this year, and this week. Well, this year, too, is the worst train disaster in Greek history, in Larissa, Greece. Anger and Sorrow, that's Larissa, Captain Picard's Admiral Picard's girlfriend in Picard, right? And anger and sorrow grew in Greece on Thursday over a devastating train crash that killed dozens of passengers along with crew members near the central city of Larissa in the country's worst rail disaster. Carriages were thrown off the tracks, crushed and engulfed in flames when a high-speed passenger train with more than 350 people on board collided head-on with a freight train on Tuesday. They were on the same track. The number of dead rose to 57, among them university students returning home after a long holiday weekend. Scores were injured. It was just they're blaming the government and the rail company and everything else. Again, just like with our situation in East Palestine, Ohio, we need to do an investigation here. They need to do an investigation before they have we have a knee-jerk reaction and have bad solutions here. There was the union, the Railway Workers Union, launched a strike and protest at ground train services to a halt across the country on Thursday. And going on and on. I mean, the details of this are, and the pictures are horrible here. Let's talk about financial news. It's been a while. We've haven't talked about that. Dow Jones Industrial is up 33,003, right? 33,003.57, up 1.05%. S&P 500 is up 3,981. NASDAQ is up 11,462. Russell 2000 is up 1902.66, up 0.22%. U.S. 10-year Treasury has broken 4%. Right, 4.058. Gold. We'll talk about gold in a minute. Bitcoin at 22,324.78. Crude oil at 77.80. On the precious metals front, gold is up today, $5, 1848.80. Silver is up 21.23. Platinum up 984.30, and palladium is up 14.88. On that. So, a lot of things are up. So, hey, we finished that right on time with the music. And we have 10 minutes to go here. Let's see what we're going to do. I have a whole bunch of stories lined up here. You can never prepare enough. Trucks. This is from the Wall Street Journal. Trucks hauling U.S. mail frequently violate safety rules. Crashes killed 79 people since 2020. As we know, the biggest killer of people in the workforce are not falls. What? We always concentrate on falls. No, they're motor vehicle accidents. Who would have known? And of course, the computer locks up. You gotta love it. Son of a gun. For years, the U.S. Postal Service, this is an article by Christopher Weaver. For years, the U.S. Postal Service has faced competition. Again, computer locked up. Hopefully, we're still broadcasting. You gotta be kidding me. You gotta love live programming. Okay, here we go. For years, the U.S. Postal Service has faced competition from other people to fight them off and hired outside trucking companies to cut rate prices, require them to meet aggressive schedules, and then look the other way when they ran afoul of highway safety rules, according to Wall Street Journal. The result has been deadly. Postal contractors have been involved in at least 68 fatal crashes. So there are, that's a lot. 68 fatal crashes that killed 79 people in the past 3 years, according to police crash and inspection records. Nearly 50 long-haul trucking contractors that move mail for the Postal Service had safety records so poor that another arm of the federal government, the Transportation Department, put them on probation. So, biggest violations included fatigue violations, meaning the limit on how many hours truckers can drive. Jay Allen can probably tell you a whole bunch about that. About 39% of trucking companies that hauled U.S. mail, by the way, Jay Allen came up in the safety field and through DOT, right? God bless him, because I tell you what, I get confused by DOT every time I have to, teach anything with it, and a lot of safety professionals just say the hell with it because it's so confusing and it gets changed all the time. About 39% of trucking companies that hauled U.S. mail busted those limits and related rules at a rate DOT raises red flags, compared with 13% for hire trucking firms that were inspected during the same time period. A journal analysis of DOT scoring data covering 2021 and 2022. Now, this is what I'm going to say here from other sources I've read, and my understanding is that there's a shortage of truck drivers, and a lot of people who would not be truck drivers in the past are now truck drivers today. And one of the things is the automation here is that's why people are pushing for automation, because there's not enough truck drivers. But I tell you what, the truck driving, especially with what's the word I'm looking for? Truck driving is a very good business if you can get into it. The ones that are the highest demand, you're going to laugh when I tell you this, around here in the United States, all right, in the New York, New Jersey area, are the honey wagons. Jimmy, what are the honey wagons? Those are the porta potty cleaners. You want to talk about a buddy of mine tried to get into that? The waiting list on that was astronomical to be a honey wagon driver, right? The one in the local one here had like a 2-year waiting list, because one, it's high turnover because you're dealing with juvenile every day. The first thing. Number two is it's a burnout environment. I mean, I said to him, Rob, right? My buddy Rob, I said, Rob, how much are they paying? And this was like 8 years ago. Rob's been dead for a number of years here. Rest in peace, Rob. He was saying they're bringing in like 70, 80 grand a year. I said, you're kidding me. He said, no. I said, well, what do you need? He says, you need a CDL, and, you got to be able to deal with Gruvno. And I said, wow, well, I deal with Gruvno every day, but bull Gruvno. And we're going to cover this one also, is there's a lot of talk the last couple of years with our personnel in Havana, Cuba, American personnel. So this is something I found out one time when this story came up. So the United States does not have an embassy, or did not have an embassy in Cuba, but they did have things that are less than an embassy in Cuba. And apparently now we have an embassy in Cuba again. All right. The illness known as Havana syndrome, reported by hundreds of U.S. intelligence and other officials overseas, was unlikely to have been the work of a foreign adversary targeting American personnel, according to the new U.S. intelligence report. In the report released Wednesday, U.S. intelligence agencies found no credible evidence that any foreign adversary possessed a weapon or intelligence collection device that is causing the injuries. The report, the main findings of which were released by the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, doesn't pinpoint a cause for the wide range of symptoms that have been reported by 1,500 U.S. employees since the first cases emerged in Havana, Cuba in late 2016, but it says they were probably caused by a combination of other factors, including pre-existing medical conditions, conventional illnesses, and environmental things. Interesting. With that, there's been a lot of theories on that in the internet world, how that did. Now, if you're a diabetic, this is actually good news here. So Eli Lilly is going to be putting a cap on insulin. So my question is this, and of course the computer, I'm having an issue. I got to restart, but I think we can make it for the next, how many minutes do I have here? I think we can make it for the next minute here. I'm going to be on the air. So Eli Lilly apparently put a cap on insulin prices. I think that's a great thing. Eli Lilly cuts insulin prices by 70% of its commonly prescribed insulins and the expansion of its insulin value program. So Lispro, the insulin Lispro, right? It's non-branded insulin Lispro injection went down to $25 a vial. That does not sound like the pen, but the actual old-fashioned vial and syringe. The cutting the price of Humalog, which is insulin Lispro injection, which is the most commonly prescribed insulin. That's an insulin pen where you put a needle on the end and you use it. It's much easier to use than a syringe and vial, right? With that. And the other one is Resaglar injection, a basal insulin that's similar to the interchangeable Lantus, and that's short-term insulin, right? You have basal and bolus, right? Insulin. So this is the basal version of the insulin. And what is basal insulin again? I get these mixed up. The basal insulin is the slow-acting insulin. So it acts over long term. The bolus is the short-term insulin. All right, so that's good. Things are getting discounted with this. This might be in response to really bad press by these people. So thank you for listening to season 2. Season 3 is coming up on Monday. Have a great weekend.
The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the host and its guest and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the company. Examples of analysis discussed within this podcast are only examples. They should not be utilized in the real world as the only solution available, as they are based only on very limited and dated open source information. Assumptions made within this analysis are not reflective of the position of the company. No part of this podcast may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, mechanical, electronic, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of the creator of the podcast, Jay Allen.
You got into the safety business because you wanted to protect people, but somewhere along the way, the job started controlling your time, your schedule, your priorities, even your income potential. What if the expertise you've built over the years in the field can give you something more? More freedom, more control, more ownership of your future. I'm Sheldon Primus, the author of 7 Steps to Starting a Profitable Safety Consulting Business and the host of the Safety Consultant Podcast, with more than 350 episodes helping safety professionals become consultants and grow their career. Consulting changed my life. In fact, I'm a full-time RVer, and 1 consulting contract paid for my home I live in today. Now, I help safety professionals build their own consulting practice through bi-weekly coaching calls, accountability, and personal guidance. But this program isn't for everyone. Start with the Consultant Readiness Audit at sheldon.coach.
What if everything we thought we knew about safety was just interference? From the host of the Rated R Safety Show and the founder of Safety FM comes the complete signal transmission trilogy, now available in one powerful edition. Safety, in my opinion, the book that started the conversation. Safety Mutation, where the boundaries of culture, systems, and belief begin to break. And now, Safety Transmission, the final piece of the signal. For the first time, all 3 books are together in one volume. The Signal Transmission Trilogy, Complete Edition. This isn't just about compliance. It's about consciousness. It's about decoding the way we think, lead, and live, inside and outside the system. Whether you've been following the signal since the beginning or you're just now tuning in, this is the version to own. Search Signal Trilogy on Amazon or visit safetyfm.com to get your copy now.